All right, welcome to Table Talk here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. That's right, over 12 and a half years strong. I'm back on camera, folks. If you are watching on YouTube, it seems pretty obvious. These black eyes are healing up. If you remember last week, I mentioned it. Hopefully I don't look too ridiculous. That being said, there is a lot going on this Major League Baseball's offseason. Tons of storylines to dive into, and we are bringing back. It has been some time since he has been on this podcast platform. We had him on when he was doing good stuff for the Reading Fightin' Phils, for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. He is now over at Service Electric Network as a sports reporter and play-by-play commentator. Got our good friend back into the fold here, Mike Ventola. Buddy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Jeff. And, look, I know your last name doesn't end with a vowel, but if I may say, if you were Italian, I would just quote Mickey from Rocky when he goes to Rocky. You're a greasy 200-pound Italian tank. Now go get him. Because take those black eyes with a badge of honor, my man. So
yes.
Looking good as ever and glad to be back with you.
I appreciate you, my friend. I really do. Thank you. That was hilarious right there. It really was great. But, man, it's so good to see you. You are so tuned into the world of baseball. And honestly, we reconnected over Instagram recently, and it was just great to have some back and forth with you there. But thinking about our old conversations about baseball, and I really wanted to bring you back on the show here just to get your thoughts on where we're at in this Major League Baseball offseason right now. There's so many storylines, so we should just get started because at this point of us recording this, the Major League Baseball winter meetings, they have started down in Orlando. It's that time of year where we're keeping our eyes on some big names in terms of free agency, where certain players might go. There's going to be a lot of team hopping from here and here. So to get us started here, Mike, I'm wondering which Major League Baseball player and free agent do you think may be the most significant for what that player is going to be able to provide their new team in 2026? What are your thoughts here?
I think you kind of have to keep it close to home, and that means keep it close to the confines of Citizens Bank Park and the Philadelphia Phillies. I think Kyle Schwarber's going to be the guy to set the market.
Okay.
Not so much even with years or even the magnitude of dollars, because I think Kyle Tucker could end up being the biggest free agent signing, no matter where he ends up. I think he's actually going to probably end up being a Los Angeles Dodger, just because I think the Dodgers are buying everybody at this point.
Absolutely.
You can attest to that. But I think for Kyle Schwarber, because it's multifaceted here, right? Because he's 33, coming off a 56 home run season, and without question, the best offensive player in the Phillies lineup. Philly fans, baseball people feel in their heart of hearts, Schwarber's going to stay with the Phillies. And I think ultimately, I do think Philadelphia finds a way to get it done, but I'm in the extreme minority feels that I actually think it's in the Phillies' best interest to walk away from Schwarber. That's a conversation for another day. But just getting back to what Schwarber is, because of his age, his magnitude of how good he can hit, not only just 56 home runs, the way he developed over the year, hitting left-handed hitters as a left-handed hitter, or pitchers as a left-handed hitter himself. He could lead off. He could bat third, he could bat fourth, he could bat fifth, he could bat sixth. You could put him anywhere in the lineup, essentially. He's going to be a mass producer for you. But I think where the negativity comes along with, and this is why I kind of say on the Phillies, yes, you applaud and you're excited if you bring him back, but if he leaves, I'm not crying a whole lot, because I think short-term he's going to be a wonderful signing for whoever gets him.
Yeah.
Long-term, it's gonna backfire at some point, because I think with the way long-term contracts work out with Major League Baseball signings is they eventually run out of luck. They run their time. You know what I mean? But I think that's just standard. But also too, I think what Schwarber is, he's a DH, and that's hard. Like, you have to sit there. Do you quantify him in a sense as you did David Ortiz?
Right.
Edgar Martinez. And if you do as an organization, I'm not saying I do one way or do not. If you quantify that as an organization, then yes, because Edgar Martinez and David Ortiz are two of the greatest DHs the game has probably ever seen. You know what I mean? So, but I think Schwarber helps set the market because there are so many teams. I think it's been reported up to like 7 or 8 teams interested in him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think it's just a good way to start our conversation today. But I also think for baseball fans, whether you're a fan of the Phillies or not, keep an eye on what Kyle Schwarber ultimately does.
And it's a good segue into this next topic too, with regard to Schwarber, because, every year we see, certain teams that are more active during the winter meetings and during the offseason than other teams. And one team that really is not very active on a year-to-year basis is the Pittsburgh Pirates. But reports are actually saying that the Pirates are one of those like 7 teams that you're talking about that may be trying to go after Kyle Schwarber. The rumor and what's been reported is that they may be wanting to offer Schwarber $100 million to join their club. So we still don't know, again, like you mentioned, if Kyle Schwarber is going to be coming back to Philadelphia, what that means to the overall free agent market as well. But I'm wondering, do you think that this report that's coming out of Pittsburgh means that this organization is willing to really turn the corner and actually spend some money in the future? Because we know that they're not one of those organizations that like to spend a lot of money. What are your thoughts here, Mike?
I want to believe it because as much as I know you're a big Philly fan, and I know a lot of your listeners, probably most of your listeners are Phillies fans, but are also ultimately, more importantly, true baseball fans. Now I'm 37 years old. I was born in 1988, but I knew how prominent the 70s Pirates were to the game of baseball, right?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is a great sports town, and not only just with the legacy of what the Steelers and the Penguins have done, in the histories of their sports, but even the Pirates they had the honor of having Roberto Clemente, one of the game's best. When you have the history that so many Pirate players and teams have been like in the old, 30, 40, 50 years ago, I want it to be true because I feel like if Pittsburgh gets back into the realm of being more than just competitive, but being, division type winners, maybe getting back into the playoffs more consistently, I think it's great for baseball because, and also too, keeping things more secular, Jeff, you want to keep Paul Skeens happy. I'm sorry. You got to keep it happy. I mean, look, I get it. He right now is the most exciting pitcher in baseball. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now. And obviously that guy he's the complete package. Not only is he the best pitcher in baseball, but all the reports are he's a complete delight off the field. Obviously, him and Livy Dunn are becoming a humongous power couple, which is huge. So you get the brand of that as well tied to your organization. Because obviously look at like what Travis Kelce and now Taylor Swift have meant, to the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously with Pat Mahomes and all the Super Bowl wins, but kind of equating things a little bit here. That if, for the Pirates to offer, at least a minimum of 4 years for $100 million, I actually tend to believe that's true. I would have a hard time thinking that gets put out there, and that's not entirely true because the Pirates, it's not like they don't have money.
Right.
Ownership has just been unwilling to spend money. And I think now that if ownership is sitting there saying, man, we like this Paul Skeens guy, right? We got to keep him happy. Signing a guy like Kyle Schwarber is step number one in keeping him happy. So now, do I think the Pirates are going to sign Schwarber? No, he does not leave Philadelphia to go to Pittsburgh. I think if Schwarber is leaving Philadelphia, in my opinion, one, maybe 2 teams. The one team will be based on a loyalty, and I think every Philly fan would accept it, is if he went home to Cincinnati. I think if the Reds came in, I think Philly fans would be like, okay, you lost him to the hometown team. I grew up a New Jersey Devil fan. When Zach Parisi was a free agent, it was either between New Jersey or Minnesota. He chose Minnesota because he went close to home. The other team, and I know you want to get into these guys soon, just because if he left Philadelphia, it would be because this team would offer him a magnanimous amount of money.
Yeah.
Steve Cohen of the New York Mets. And I know that would drive daggers into every Philly fan's heart, but that's why I think even though and people say, what about the Dodgers? Yeah, I don't know if he's going. I don't think there's space for Schwarber with the Dodgers. But I think for the Pirates, though, I think when you look at the Pirates, you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, you look at some of these lower tier organizations, I think they're looking to spend some money now because next offseason is the big bugaboo, and whether the CBA and whether baseball is going to be locked out or going to some sort of strike. So I do think you're going to see teams like the Pirates, maybe like the Tampa Bay Rays, even the Miami Marlins that maybe look to spend a little money now, get some guys locked in, so then they don't have to worry about, well, what happens when baseball resurfaces middle or end of 27 or 28, and I don't want that to happen, obviously. But I think that's why, just answering your question, that's why I think the Pirates wouldn't be surprised if they did truly offer that type of deal for Schwarber.
Going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting following this storyline and just what happens with Kyle Schwarber, because he's such an amazing baseball player in that DH role. Whatever team that he ends up signing with, I mean, at the end of the day, a very special player. Us Phillies fans absolutely know that for sure. But moving along here, Mike, I wanted to go through some of the signings that we've recently seen thus far here during this offseason. You mentioned the New York Mets here. Let's get into this team. They signed Devin Williams to a 3-year, $51 million deal. They obviously see him as a key cog in a late inning pedigree from the mound. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about this signing and what it may or may not do for the Mets in 2026? Again, this is a team that's been spending a lot of money, haven't really been able to get over that hump that they've been wanting to get over. So what do you think this signing means for them?
I think for the Mets right now, they have a multifaceted issue. Yes, they have the paycheck, all the paychecks and the money in the world. Steve Cohen's going to be a great owner for Met fans just because he's going to spend.
Yep.
Awesome, right? But when I looked at the Devin Williams signing, and this may be a little crude in a sense, I think it only makes sense if they re-sign Edwin Diaz. Because I honestly think that Devin Williams, now look, do I think he could still close? Absolutely. I don't think he was, I think how he was able to close with Milwaukee. That's why the Yankees ultimately brought him in to try to be the closer.
Yep.
But then he's got to see the bright lights of New York City were a little too bright and ended up becoming a really good eighth inning guy. I actually think the best route of success for the Mets is if they re-sign Diaz, let Diaz be your closer, and let Williams set up. But now, baseball, people that listen to your podcasts are like, oh, Mike, what are you talking about? The guy was a closer. But you're going to give that type of money to an eighth inning guy? Two things. One, it ain't your money. And two, Steve Cohen and the ownership of the Dodgers are only two owners that can literally just write money and not care about the after effect.
Right.
I think I liked Devin Williams as an eighth inning guy for the Yankees. It served them well because David Bednar was a tremendous closer for the Yankees.
Yep.
And I just think for Williams, people say, well, the American League to the National League. In the old days, and I say the old days, when you and I were coming up, the American League was more dominant for a long time. Now the National League now is the dominant league.
Right.
And if you're a fan of the American League, like myself, I grew up a Yankee fan. It's like, sorry, the National League is a better league. So you're telling me Devin Williams, who struggled as a closer with the Yankees, is this now going to fit in nicely with the Mets, knowing how good the Phillies are, knowing how good the Braves are, the Marlins could be spunky from time to time. You look at the Central. I mean, I don't want to sit here and name team after team, but you get where I'm going here. So I think that signing only makes sense if he ends up being the eighth inning guy. Now, look, I could be wrong. He'd be like 38 for 39 and save opportunities this year. Good for him.
Right.
But I think for the Mets, they have a lot more work to do than just signing Devin Williams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, folks, we're talking to Mike Ventola from Service Electric Network, sports reporter and play-by-play commentator over there. Mike, why don't you let folks know where they can find you on the socials if you want to get that out there for everybody?
Yes, I'm still on X, though I don't normally tweet as much as I used to back in the day. But you can find me on X at Venting Daily, or I'm on Instagram as well at Mike Ventola. And, for those of you who love, obviously you listen to Jeff, and if you don't listen to Jeff consistently, shame on you. But if you want to, if you're from the Lehigh Valley and ever want to know a little bit more about what I do, follow us at SC Network TV on X. Service Electric, of course, we are the tops in the Valley in providing high school coverage for all the high schools in the Lehigh Valley. So, but of course, we are the television home for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the Phillies AAA affiliate, and of course, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the Philadelphia Flyers AHL affiliate. So we dabble in the professional scene as well. So that's how you can find me, and of course, find us at SEN.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show. You can also hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos. Again, like and subscribe to us. We are on various social sites as well. We're over on Instagram, Twitter/X. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. Like our Facebook page, search us out on Threads, and I'm over on Blue Sky as well. Just search out Jeff Warren there. Search out Philadelphia Sports Table wherever you're at. PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com is our website where you can find all of our podcasts. So that being said, folks, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we've got more Major League Baseball offseason storylines. Stick with us. All right, we are back with our good friend Mike Ventola from Service Electric Network, sports reporter and play-by-play commentator over at SEN. And Mike, I wanted to now dive into the Tampa Bay Rays here. They are an interesting organization in Major League Baseball because of how they like to run things basically from year to year. I mean, Cedric Mullins, as we know, is heading to the Rays on a one-year deal. Now, the Rays are a team that they like to pick up low-cost, low-risk players, hoping that some of these players are going to have a bounce-back season. There's bounce-back potential, higher type of upside here, and that these players may pay off long-term. I mean, that's basically been the MO of the Tampa Bay Rays for some time now. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this type of team-building strategy, because I'm not necessarily sure that works in terms of really becoming a contender in Major League Baseball. I don't know. What are your thoughts here on this?
No, I agree with you in a sense of that, for the Rays, I think, whenever I think of the Tampa Bay Rays, I always kind of think of Brad Pitt in Moneyball. We got the Yankees, we got this team, a pile of you-know-what, and then there's us. And there's a lot of truth to that because, the Rays, they develop talent so well. Their farm system is, and that's why, why their thinking is we're going to develop our talent because we coach as good, if not better than anybody, which is a fact. Think about how many very strong baseball players have come out of the Tampa Bay Rays system. But then even while they're up in the big leagues, or even if they sign guys like Cedric Mullins to low risk, high reward type contracts, their thinking is, well, we can't compete with the Yankees. We can't compete with the Phillies, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, these big markets. So, but you're kind of hoping, as the Rays were able to do for, a number of years, get a wild card, get in the playoffs, be division, for a short amount of time, being able to challenge for the American League East. They got to the World Series the one year against the Phillies. The Phillies made them pay for it. But even then, they had some free agent signings, that were kind of plugged in. They're almost trying to kind of follow the Marlins blueprint of 97 and 2003.
Right.
And what the Marlins did in 97 and 2003 were like once every 30 years. But yet the Marlins defied logic with doing it from 97 to 03.
And we're in 2025 heading into 2026, for God's sake.
Yeah, like where, how you and I were talking about like the Pirates looking to pony up some money a little bit. Now the Rays don't have that much compared to what Pittsburgh, ownership just finally deciding in Pittsburgh, right, let's maybe dust off the cobwebs here and spend some money a little bit. The Rays sadly don't. St. Petersburg, great town. I know you've been to. It's a beautiful town. It's a great spot. Obviously, with Tampa and Clearwater, great spring training sites. But Southwest Florida is not, a high baseball town compared to Philadelphia, New York, or LA or wherever. So they don't get the revenue unless the Yankees are in town, the Red Sox are in town, the Dodgers, the Phillies. That's how, they get fans to the ballpark, essentially. So, but ultimately, I don't think it's a long-term sustaining of success. But one thing I will give the Rays credit is they have one of the best managers in the game, Kevin Cash. Like, I'll be honest with you, whether it be Topper, Aaron Boone, or some of these managers I'd want Kevin Cash on my team in a heartbeat. And the guy can straight up manage, and they have good coaching. And I think that's what the Rays pride themselves on. And that's why always teams are dipping into their well to pluck from them. And the Rays are like, okay, next farm system guy up. All right, we got a guy like Cedric Mullins, let's reel him in. Or maybe every now and then they're able to cash in on, a middle to upper level type free agent, but you never see them in the competition for a Kyle Tucker or a Cody Bellinger this year or Kyle Schwarber. Just not sustainable.
Yeah, not sustainable if you want to have a successful Major League Baseball team. They got to do something in the future. But there's one particular team that's been doing a lot, Mike, this particular offseason, and that is the Blue Jays. My gosh, the Toronto Blue Jays really making some waves this offseason. They've signed pitcher Dylan Cease to a multi-year contract. Cody Ponce, who is a strikeout machine, they recently signed as well. What are your thoughts on the direction of the Toronto Blue Jays, where they're heading this offseason? I don't think they're screwing around here. They're not messing around.
No, not at all. I think the Blue Jays are here to stay. They're good. And I think you look at them signing George Springer last year was huge for them. You get a proven guy that had done it with the Houston Astros. That was clutch. Vladimir Guerrero, out of this world, obviously. I don't know if they're gonna be able to re-sign Bo Bichette. I almost wonder if they're gonna look to, obviously with him in his recent injury history, and that stinks because that's another farm system guy. I remember watching him in Double-A with the New Hampshire Fisher Cats when I was with the Reading Phillies. It was him. It was Craig Biggio's son, Kevin Biggio, and then obviously you had Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And all three of them coming up the system together, and it was out of this world watching them play. I think, too, you look at some of the other position players they got. Alejandro Kirk, as a catcher, has been a really stable guy for them. And I think you kind of look at the rest of their starting pitching rotation. It's pretty good. They have some guys, I think Scherzer was clutch for them throughout the regular season, and obviously what he was able to do in the postseason. My only thing with Dylan Cease is he's going to be great in the regular season. He's going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
Take a look at his postseason numbers. They're not very good. He has not done a good job in the postseason. But I think they're sitting there saying at some point the law of averages have to come into play, where at some point we're going to throw him out there for a postseason start. He's going to pitch well, But obviously, they have Kevin Gossman. Trying to think, Jeff Hoffman. It's amazing watching him close games. I'm sure Philly fans are like thinking, man, this poor guy. He struggled with the Phillies, but yet look at him. He's shutting the door on the Yankees in big moments. Getting to Game 7 with against the Dodgers. But I do think the Blue Jays are here to stay. Plus, they're very well managed. They're very well coached. Though I'm intrigued to see would Donnie Baseball not being around now. If you wonder how much of that affects things a little bit more so on the minor side. I think having a veteran voice like him is certainly impactful, but. I do think the Blue Jays are going to be, without question, the favorites in the American League East, and they're the American League favorites until the Yankees or the Red Sox or, the Tigers or, look out west. I know, some of the teams out west are exciting to watch, but I don't think the Blue Jays are going away.
Yeah, I don't think they're going away anytime soon. Great points you made there, Mike. And before I let you go, buddy, real quick here, it's a two-part question. Just getting into a couple teams in each league who, if they have a solid offseason, they may be able to compete in 2026. So let's take a look at the American League here. Which couple teams to you, if they had a real solid offseason, do you think they're going to be able to compete in 2026?
I think Seattle needs to retool a little bit. I loved what the Mariners were doing. Obviously, they got to the playoffs. And the reason why I say they may have to retool a little bit is you loved what Cal Raleigh did this year. To me, Aaron Judge was the clear-cut MVP, but with Cal Raleigh, is he going to duplicate hitting 60-plus home runs next year? Probably not.
Right.
But still, a good defender, still a good hitter. So if some of that offensive production goes down a little bit, how is some of that offensive production going to get replaced? Is that within some of the guys in this lineup, with Randy Arenzarena or Jorge Polanco, or obviously our good old buddy J.P. Crawford, do they need to go out and maybe try to sign another bat to help replenish some of that offense? I think pitching as well, too. They're pretty strong pitching, but I think they're about maybe another bat or so from getting themselves over the hump. I like Seattle. And the only reason I'm saying Detroit is the other team in the Central is what are they going to do with Skubal? There's all these reports, right? And to me, once they figure out whether they're going to keep Skubal or trade him, because if they keep him, they don't need to do much. Maybe get him another arm or two, try to see if you can add another arm in the rotation. Their bullpen was okay, fizzled there against Cleveland in certain moments. But also, too, offensively, I think, they got really they got some good production in certain moments offensively, especially with, my goodness, whether it be with Spencer Torkelson, Gleyber Torres had a really nice year. Javier Baez in the outfield.
Yeah.
Parker Meadows. I like Parker Meadows. I think he's a good player. So I think those are the two teams in the American League, even though they're playoff teams already. I think if they just retool, refine, they can definitely be two teams that can really challenge Toronto in the American League.
All right, cool. Well, what about the National League here? What maybe couple teams in the National League do you think are going to need to have a very solid offseason to compete in 2026?
I think the Mets. I mean, to me, I think the Mets really need to they certainly have a lot of young arms that are going to be there for a long time. I think they still got, like I said, I know I harped on the bullpen. I think their lineup a little bit. They got to figure out first base.
They do.
I think they should re-sign Pete Alonso. I think if they let him go now, let's say sign somewhere for an exorbitant amount of money, where it's almost like if someone seems going to give him 5, 6, 7 years and a crap ton of money.
Yep.
Okay, let him go. But I think the Mets need to really get this off season right, because everyone was saying, "Oh, Juan Soto." Well, Juan Soto played very, very well.
Yeah.
But the Mets didn't make, they didn't make the playoffs. So it's just I think them, and I think you look out west. What is San Diego going to do to finally get over the hump with Los Angeles?
Ah, yes.
And the Padres. I love the Padres. I think they're always so fun to watch. They pitch well. I think more so there for Manny Machado. What are they going to do with Fernando Tatis? Because Tatis has been lingering out there in potential being an option of being traded.
Right.
And if they do trade him, then how are you going to replace one of the better players in the game? So, but yeah, I think San Diego and I think the Mets, because their teams, they're going to look to challenge Philadelphia, look to challenge Los Angeles. Because I look at the Central, I still think it's the Cubs' journey and Milwaukee's journey. I think in Milwaukee, I think, the Brewers are, I think the Brewers, I think for them, they need to learn how to win in the postseason. I think that's what's keeping them. It seems like they get to the postseason so frequently and they just can't get over the hump. I think it's just them. All right, we're going to try this year. And I think eventually they'll find a way to win a series when it matters most.
Going to be an interesting offseason as we continue to follow it here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show. And if you're local here in the Lehigh Valley, where we are located, head on over to Service Electric Network. You're going to find Mike over there, his colleagues, great sports coverage, local, and even when they're talking national stories. Again, Mike Ventola from Service Electric Network. My friend, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. It was great reconnecting with you, man. Seriously, great talking baseball with you. Come back down the road, man. Let's talk more baseball. I'd love it.
I'm down. Obviously, I know you always have a good list of candidates, but whenever there's a spot, feel free to reach out. I'd love to reconnect with you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure. You and your podcast do great work. And and folks, once again, if you're not listening to Jeff consistently, shame on you, because Jeff I remember all my times in Reading and Lehigh Valley, whenever I had to go talk Phillies minor leagues, Jeff was the guy. So Jeff was the guy. When he wanted to know who's going to be the next guy to replace Ryan Howard, who's going to be the next guy to replace Chase Utley, and those conversations were great. But no, Jeff, thank you so much for having me on.